This topic is connective tissue. There are many types of connective tissues, so we need to know the type of cells found in the connective tissue, what is the properties and the function of connective tissue, and we also need to name and classify 10 types of connective tissues. So at the end of this topic, make sure you can visually recognize each connective tissue types from the picture or specimen. Connective tissue is for support, connects, and protects organs. They are highly vascular, so that means you can find a lot of blood vessels in the connective tissue. The cells normally occupy less space than matrix. Most of the cells in the connective tissues are not in direct contact with each other. The function of connective tissues are listed as below. Connective tissues can bind the organs together, for example, tendons and ligaments. They can also support, because bones and the cartilage also belong to the connective tissue. Connective tissue can form a cranial cavity. So all these skeletal structures are for physical protection of the internal organs. Since blood also belongs to the connective tissue, so connective tissue have a function of immune protection because white blood cells can attack the foreign invaders. The bones can provide the liver system that will allow us to move. Adipose tissue also belongs to the connective tissue. So adipocytes can store fat. The bone can store calcium and phosphorus. The connective tissue can also produce heat. For example, the brown fat in the infants has a function of heat production. We mentioned earlier blood is also a type of connective tissue, so blood can transport oxygen and the nutrients. When we study connective tissues, we need to pay attention to 3 components within those tissues: cells, fibers, and the ground substances. The first type of connective tissue is fibrous connective tissue. The cells found in those type of tissue are 6 types. Fibroblast, this type of cell will produce fibers and the ground substance of matrix. Macrophage is to clean up the foreign matters. Leukocyte is for defense. Plasma cells can synthesize antibody. Mast cells can be found along the blood vessels to produce heparin to inhibit clotting. It can also secrete histamine to dilate the blood vessel. Adipocytes, those are the fat cells. They can store triglyceride, which are the fat molecules. Fibrous connective tissues also have 3 types of fibers. So those fibers are collagen fiber, reticular fiber, and the elastic fiber. Collagen fiber is the most abundant type of fibers you can find in the connective tissue. It takes about 25% of the body protein. Reticular fiber is relatively thin. They can form a framework for organs like spleen and the lymph nodes. Elastic fiber is thin and also has elasticity. So those type of fibers you can find in the ear and the nose. So when you bind the ear, they will give you some flexibility. Ground substances in the fibrous connective tissue are really made by glycoproteins. So it's a compound of protein linked with some sugar components. There are 3 major types of ground substance here. The glycosaminoglycans, which is named GAG, proteoglycans, and glycoproteins. Those are the 3 major types of ground substances in the connective tissue. Fibrous connective tissue is a big subcategory of connective tissue. Under that category, we have subcategories here. We have loose or dense connective tissue. The loose one, we have further smaller groups here. The loose connective tissue are also subtyped into areola and reticular tissue. the dense connective tissue are classified into dense regular or dense irregular. Areolar tissue are loosely organized fibers, abundant blood vessels, and have a lot of seemingly empty spaces. So areolar tissues has all 6 types of cells we mentioned earlier. The fibers within that type of tissues are run in random directions. Areolar tissues can be found on top of connective tissue. We can find areolar tissues underneath the skin, and we can also find areolar tissues around the blood vessels and the nerves. The picture of areolar tissue is shown here. You can see they have loosely organized fiber, abundant blood vessels, and all different types of cells. You can find them in serous membrane between muscles, passages for nerves and blood vessels. Reticular tissue, the fiber is short. It doesn't have direction either. It's randomly. Those type of fibers forms a framework for lymphatic organs. We can find the reticular connective tissue in the lymph nodes, spleen, and the bone marrow. Dense regular connective tissue, they are densely packed. They have parallel collagen fibers. You can find them from in the ligaments or tendon. They are relatively tough, but also has some flexibilities. Dense irregular connective tissue, the fibers doesn't have a certain direction. They are randomly arranged. They're collagen fibers. They're thick. You can find this type of tissue under the deeper layer of the skin and the capsules around the organs. You can find this type of connective tissue in the dermis layer of the skin. Adipose is another type of connective tissue. So everybody knows adipocyte is for storage of the fat. So the function of the fat is energy resource. The fat in the adult is white fat. It can provide thermal insulation. It can function as a cushion. They can also contribute to body parts in the female, like breast and hips. In the baby has brown fat. The brown fat has a function of heat production. Here's a picture of adipose tissue. Adipose tissue is filled with fat molecules, and the purple structure is the nucleus, which is being pushed to the side of the cell. This is energy storage, insulation, and the cushion. The third type of connective tissue is cartilage. Cartilage has different type of cells compared to adipose tissue and fibrous connective tissue. So in the cartilage, we have chondroblast and the chondrocytes. They are same type of cells. Chondroblast is the cell which can produce the extracellular matrix. Then after he produces the matrix, he'll be trapped within them. So once he's being trapped, he changes his name into chondrocyte. Perichondrium is the layer of dense irregular tissue on the outside of the cartilage structure. We have different types of cartilage. We have hyaline cartilage, fibrocartilage, and elastic cartilage. All these type of cartilage do not have blood vessels. Hyaline cartilage, we can find it from trachea, we can find from the long bones of children. So it's glassy, it's clear, it has fineness of collagen fibers within that type of cartilage. This elastic cartilage provides flexible elastic support. We can find it from our ear and epiglottis. The third type of cartilage is called the fibrocartilage. It contains large bundles of collagen fibers. So that cartilage can reduce the pressure, absorbs the shock. It can resist compression. You can find this type of cartilage between two vertebrae. So the two vertebrae will not touch directly with each other. Pubic symphysis is also made by fibrocartilage. So when the two pelvic bones are connected by pubic symphysis, when women are in labor, the pubic symphysis will open so the baby can come out. Bone is another type of connective tissue. Bone is a calcified connective tissue. It's hard. We have two types of bones, spongy bone and the compact bone. Spongy bones, we have holes. The skull is made by spongy bone. Then the other type of the bone is called the compact bone. It's dense. It's calcified tissue with no visible spaces. So our long bone like humerus, femurs, those are made by compact bone. So the compact bone actually always on the outside of spongy bone. Even for our skull, we have two pieces of compact bone, then the middle one is the spongy bone. So the compact bone is protecting the spongy bone. This is the structure of the bone tissue. So the bone is made by unit called osteon. This is the osteon unit. Then the center is the central canal. All these black structures are osteocytes. So osteocytes are located around the central canal in the shape of circles. There are little lines here. Those are the connective. Those are the little channels can bring the nutrients between the cells. So again, osteon is a circular structure of the bone. Within each osteon, we have many osteocytes. Those are the cells can maintain the bone health. Then canaliculi, those are the dedicated canals, allow the osteocytes to contact each other. And periosteum is another tough fibrous connective tissue covering the entire bone. So the bone itself is an organ. So the connective tissue called periosteum is a layer of membrane will be located on the outside of the bone. Blood is another type of connective tissue. So blood is a fluid connective tissue. Bone is calcified connective tissue. Blood can transport oxygen, carbon dioxide. It can transport nutrients and hormones. So blood has different types of cells in it. We have red blood cells, which transport oxygen and carbon dioxide. We have white blood cells called leukocyte. Those cells defend against the infection and the diseases. Under the white blood cells, we have different types: neutrophils, eosinophils, basophils, lymphocytes, monocyte. Platelet is the smallest type of cells in the blood. It is an important component involved in clotting process. So we have talked about all type of connective tissue. I also suggest you and recommend you to make a table to summarize those types.